is, if you want to accomplish a goal in 90 days, I don't care if that's starting a business, finding a relationship, losing weight. If you just follow 5 minutes a day for 90 days, you will achieve that goal. And I've done this test so many times. That silly little book will help you achieve your goal. It'll also drive you crazy to a degree because you're like, dang it, why can't I follow through? But if you're able to set that intention, able to journal a little bit, able to take care of yourself for 90 days, it's really remarkable what you can accomplish.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of the None of Your Business podcast. And hey, this podcast brings along some fantastic life lessons. Lesson number one, done is better than perfect. For all of our Black Diamond Club members, they know that we recently just moved across the street in Naples. So we moved from across the street into this new condo. So we are not in the Indiana studio. Sounds a little bit echoey. We're not on the right camera. We're on a regular computer camera with a Yeti
we're sharing
mic.
a microphone.
We're sharing it. But done is better than perfect. And to make it even better, we had some technical difficulties getting our guest onto the stream, but we have them now. That's what matters. And the information is what matters. It might not sound like we're right there in your ear, but that's fine. What you get to hear, he has a great mic. So that's really what's super
that's what counts.
important.
Yeah.
And so we're talking about Let's Go Win. Super excited. We're going to be talking today with JM Ryerson, and he has a lot of great inspirational content for all of us entrepreneurs, service providers. I was going to say service providers, but entrepreneurs, service providers, who are looking to make a bigger impact, who are looking to reach more people, make a bigger impact, and create the lifestyle that we deserve. So everybody, welcome in JM Ryerson to the None of Your Business podcast. Thank you so much, JM, for being with us.
Hey, thanks, you guys. So nice to be here. I love what you said. Like, hey, done is better than perfect. That is exactly the way business should be operated, 100%, because we could be on the sidelines all day long waiting for that. So I appreciate the chance of being here.
I always love to start off with this question. Because I tell our guests why this is so important. If you listen to the podcast or you view the podcast, we bring on some pretty cool people like yourself, people that our listeners and viewers may have seen before, and maybe even have seen you on stage, or they've read your books that are there behind you. Maybe they've had contact with you through social media. All of these things, and what's easy for people to think is, well, JM, because he's famous, because he's blessed, because he has advantages that I don't have. I mean, of course, it's easy for him. I mean, he's JM. Tell us your story, your condensed version of how you end up here with us today. Has it always been so easy for you?
Well, I think anybody that says yes is lying. No, I mean,
yes, all right.
No, of course it's not been easy, but it's been awesome regardless. All the bumps and bruises, I wouldn't take any of that away. And what's funny, and I will give you the story, but I think of that as a parent so often, like I'm trying to protect them, but why? All these scars, all these things that I got along the way, they were good things. So it's so funny as a parent now, I want to protect them, but I think maybe that's a disservice to them. But anyway, long-winded version is, or short-winded version of a long story is, this is my fourth company. Let's Go Win is truly my purpose. It's my passion. It's what I love. Gets me out of bed. I'm a simple kid from Montana that moved to California, got into financial services, grew 3 companies, ended up kind of selling or merging a couple along the way. And then boom, I wrote a book for my kids. And obviously they're important to my life because I continue to do things for them. But the whole idea was to help them not bump their knees as much as they did. And the gal that I was working with said, hey, if you only share this with 2 human beings, you're selfish. Okay, lesson learned. Let's publish it, get it out there. And it just led into coaching. I'm working with athletes and then executives and then teams. And what I found is I love working with people that just don't know how. So the long and short-winded, I don't know how to describe this version is, no, it wasn't easy. I got my ass kicked a lot along the way, and I appreciate every time because I'm able to get back up and do it again.
I think that's so neat that like this company, what you're doing now is your passion and your purpose. And I think for a lot of people, they're stuck in something that maybe they're making a lot of money and a good living at, but it's not really what drives them. It's not really what they're passionate about. Like what for you, you wrote the book, but what for you really was that move? Like what gave you the courage to say, I'm going to do what I really love? Because I know a lot of people don't.
Well, I hate when people say I have to do this, but this is one of those have tos that I had to do. This company, I had to do it because I did. I had an amazing career. I love the company. I love the people. I was making very, very good money, but this just spoke to me. And I know people, that sounds so cliche, but it gets me out of bed because quite literally, the company exists to inspire people to live their best lives. Now, that goal will never be obtained. I already know that, which means I get to get up out of bed every single day and I have work to do. And I like to work, and I love to work with people that don't know how to get their dreams. So it's just one of those things. I looked at my wife and I said, babe, I have to do this. This is one of those have to. She says, you don't get to say that. I said, but this is one I have to. So it's just been cool. And the people I've met along the way, the amazing people I get to work with, being on camera like this with you guys, you get to meet so many great people because of this platform. And so I'm just very blessed in that regard.
Well, that's super awesome because you help people to live their best lives, and nobody is there, right? Anybody on the planet, you can always live a better life. You can always get more out of life.
Yeah.
You can always reach for more. You can do more, make a bigger impact. So basically your client base, your prospect pool is every human being on the planet, in essence. Tell us
the marketing company's nightmare. Yes. Sorry about that.
I know,
Yes. They're
right?
like, who's your niche? I'm like, you don't want to go down this road.
But what are some of the stories of what you have helped people? Because here's what happens, right? That's kind of a broad statement. Live my best life. Well, man, that could be financially, that could be in my relationship.
It could be freedom of time or traveling
business.
the world. Or
what are some of the stories so that we orient our viewers and listeners? Like, what are some of the things that have inspired you that you've seen in your clients where they've lived their best life as a result of your work?
Yeah. So two of my favorites. One, I was asked, hey, can you work with this kid? And this is a kid that I've known for a long time. He's going to take over the family business. He's an extremely gifted human being, but he didn't necessarily know that. And so at the time he sat down, and I'll leave his name out, but he sat down, I said, why are you here? He's like, because my dad said I had to be. Okay, great. So that's where we started. Well, come to find out, he really was insecure about some of the things, especially his weight. And I said, well, what would you want to change if you could? And he goes, I'd love to lose 80 pounds. Cool, let's go. And so we went on a journey, and I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a dietitian. I'm not a trainer, but these habits that we can put into place, which is really a lifestyle, allowed him to create that. So he lost 80 pounds, found the love of his life. Now he is about to take over as CEO with a different level of confidence. And then the second one was a professional golfer. Now he has still not attained and reached his goals professionally in golf, but after we worked together, he found the love of his life. And so often what it seems like I'm doing is we're just working on some of the things, these self-limiting beliefs that have been kind of put upon us. And let's break down. Why do you think this way? Why is that important to you? Why can't you get X, Y, or Z? And every time the answer comes back, I'm not sure why, but I was told I couldn't. Well, forget that. Let's see if we can. So those are two of my favorites, brother. And I mean, the list continues, but those two stick out to me because both were not necessarily what they started off to be, but they both found their partner. And I think that, look, people live on this earth for three things: love, fun and purpose, and love came out of both those. Fun is, and now they're finding their purpose. So yeah, those are two of my favorites.
I love it. It makes me think of that movie with Will Smith, Hitch. Do you remember that movie?
Yeah.
You're like the real life Hitch for people going after their dreams. Work with me. I'll get you the love of your life in a much better way than Will Smith did it. So I got to ask you this, because this is, I love what you do. And we recently just got off this morning, actually, a call with one of our clients, and he had been really vulnerable with us and said, I used to know what I wanted for my life, and I used to have direction, and I feel like I've lost that. I'm sure that in your line of work that you've run into that. Do you have any advice or things that to help people kind of re-find or reframe or rediscover what they're trying to go after?
This is such a great question. And this is something that is very challenging to find, just so we're clear.
Yeah.
But I always say the same thing. I'm like, let's slow down. Let's ask ourselves some questions, and then let's get really quiet. You hear people talking about meditation. You hear people talking about journaling. I do too, because that's how I find these things. And so we just have to slow down and ask, what do I want? And don't listen to what mom and dad, your spouse, your kids. It's no, what do I really want in this scenario? And then once you say, okay, I don't know, monetarily, I want to make $1 million a year. Okay, cool. Why? Why is that important to you? Because I can buy a bigger house, car, but that's not really going to do it. Why would that change your life? How would it make it better? And then you start finding what you really want. And so often I had a client, this guy had everything. I mean, you name it, it looked like the perfect marriage. It looked like the perfect company, made a ridiculous amount of money, but he was still unfulfilled. And I had to ask him, why are you on this earth? What is your purpose? I don't know. I said, go get quiet. And I actually had him go away for 3 days. I'm like, cell phone away, you and the nature and nothing. And guess what? He came back with this profound, like, holy cow, JM, I know what I want to do. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, yeah. And then he tried it. And he's like, well, I said, try it again. Finally, he's like, this is everything I'm missing. And so it's there, but you have to quiet all this outside noise, quiet it down, and find what you really want.
Wow.
Well, one of the things that I find is that too, super successful people like yourself that have helped a lot of people, you begin to find that commonality, whether they're professional golfers or the CEO of a Fortune 500 company or a housewife or anybody in between, that there are some common sort of pillars. What are some of the common pillars that you work from, the platforms that help your clients to find success in achieving their best life?
Yeah, this one's the most basic tenet I work on is taking care of the mind, the body, and the soul on a daily basis. So often, you said housewife. This is one of my favorite examples. Some of the females that I've worked with are they've taken care of everyone else but themselves. And so one of the biggest lessons that we work through is I tell them, I didn't realize, similar to what the gal said to me, I didn't realize you were selfish. I'm not selfish. I'm taking care of my kids. I'm taking care of the house. I'm taking care of the dog. And I'm like, what about you? That has such a short shelf life if you don't take care of yourself that you can't do it long term. So while you think you're being unselfish by getting the kids ready first, not, taking care of yourself, you won't be there long term. So one of the biggest things, especially, and again, I'm generalizing, but my female clients, I'm like, look, you have to take care of yourself first. That's the most unselfish act, because that allows you to then be there long term, to see your kids have babies and take care of those grandkids if that's your journey. And so that is one of the things I work on is we're going to take care of you first. It's so important so that you can run your company, run your family, whatever your calling is. And we're going to do that by taking care of our mind, our body, and our soul on a daily basis. And it doesn't have to be a lot, but it does have to happen on a daily.
So I'm going to interrupt there because I'm going to go deeper on that. I think that most people, when you say that, especially on this format in a podcast, they're like, yeah. in real life, like when you're actually across the table from somebody, you're on the phone with an actual client, it's easy to say yes, but then it's also hard to do. It's
Right.
like, it's easy to agree with, it's hard to actually apply, because they're like, hey, you're right, JM. And then they, immediately go and they're, in the kitchen helping their kids with the homework, and
Running
and
around.
at the same time they're cooking, and they're at the same time paying a bill. Like, so, and they're like, well, I tried it, but life got in the way. So are there any practical tips that will actually force someone to get off the couch or out of the kitchen or the garage or whatever it is that they're
out
doing?
Of the C-suite, being
Yeah.
the
How
CEO.
do we actually move from
hard?
conceptual to practical application on that?
Yeah, it's great question, because I look at it. So I was an athlete in college, and I used to work out at least twice a day, typically 4 to 5 hours in a day. Those were workouts. So that was taking care of my body, right? I don't have that time today. So if I'm trying to make a 4 or 5 hour workout happen in today's world, being a dad, running a couple companies, being a husband, all the different hats, that's impractical. So I have to first off realize that whatever I thought taking care of my body was as an 18, 21, 35-year-old, that may be different at 43. So maybe that just means sweat once a day. Maybe that doesn't mean I'm lifting the same weights as I was. I guarantee I'm not that I was at my peak, right? That's okay. Taking care of like the mind, okay? Simple things like, I don't have enough time. Let's make time. And what I mean by that, I'm not adding hours to your day. That doesn't happen. We have 24 hours. That's it. You should get X amount of sleep. So how can we do it? Can we listen to things while we're driving? Can we maybe incorporate doing a word game instead of watching a TikTok video? Can we make these choices? And that's what it comes down to, is let's choose you first so that you can be there long-term. So that's typically how I break it all down, is let's find it. So we're not adding like, okay, you have to wake up 3 hours earlier to accomplish this. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. It's not going to happen. Let's keep your day exactly the same way it is, but we're going to maybe just tweak a couple things. And that's what I was telling you off air. I upgrade now. I used to say change, and change freaks people out. So now I'm like, look, let's just upgrade your habits just a little bit, right? Instead of that 5 minutes on TikTok, let's do 5 minutes of brain game. Go back to your TikTok for the rest of it. Or that would be an example.
Love it.
It's interesting. I want to go back to when you were talking about helping people find their purpose and asking them, like, what do you want? Because that's what this all comes down to: taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, your body, your spirit. And it's all about what you want. Well, we often teach, and it's not necessarily popular, but we teach a concept called no compromise. So in our relationship, most people say you have to compromise, and we're big believers in not compromising, because we see so many people go through life and compromise their vision, their purpose, their desires to meet the other person's needs. And then over time, the relationship begins to fall apart, or there's battles because one person is resentful for what they gave up. Have you run into people like that are in the middle of something where they've just compromised so much of what they wanted and they can't get out of it? Because we see that. And what advice do you give them when it comes to that? Because that's not an easy thing to acknowledge, right?
No, and it sucks to go through it. My wife and I have gone through this 100%. And any marriage that is still lasting past a couple of years knows exactly what this is all about. I call it setting boundaries. I love that you call it no compromise, just setting proper boundaries, i.e. so often, and I'll use myself as an example. I got married at 27. At 27, I didn't know to communicate all my wants and needs and desires, and neither did my wife. And so we enter in, I love this human being, but now it's like, well, I want to do this, but I don't communicate it. Therefore, now she's like, I don't understand. And so instead of actually communicating, setting proper boundaries, sitting down and saying, here's the expectations of one another, can we live with that? We had to figure all that out. And so, but guess what? It's never too late. You can always say, it doesn't mean because we've had a history of 15 years that that's the way it's going to be for the next 15. Why don't we sit down and say, look, what are your expectations? What are your desires? What are your wants? Okay, they're this. Are those acceptable to you? And if the answer is no on the majority, you probably know the answer to where you're going. This isn't going to be a fruitful relationship. Or you could say, you know what? I could see that. I think it's really important that you do have your girl time or guy time. For instance, me playing golf, that used to drive her crazy. See, there you go. But here's the deal. I'm a much better dad. I'm a much better employee. I'm a much better spouse when I get that time. But if I don't communicate, you just think I'm going to get drunk with my buddies for 4 hours on a golf course. Now, maybe that's true, but
but it still makes you a better spouse and dad.
Look, it was my time at that age to do that. And so that's what I would say. And I love that you say no compromises, because truth be told, why would you ever ask the person that you love to be anything else but what they are?
Right.
That's kind of shameful, really, if you think about it. So now, again, I've done that many times. I 100% asked my wife that way. But why? I love you. I love you for who you are, the good and the bad. And you know what? I don't want you to compromise, because it's just going to be resentment at the end of the day. So what a great topic you guys are helping people on.
Well, I love what you said. And number one, we believe that both people can get what they truly want, just like you're teaching. And so it's figuring out, how do we get them together? Maybe somebody has to compromise on the timeline, the time that you have to get it, but we're going to go after each other's dreams. But what I love about what you said about creating boundaries, that can be used in any relationship, not just a relationship with a husband and wife, but what about your business partner? I think those same things apply in all aspects of relationships in your life. So I think that's a great concept. We may have to steal a little bit of that no boundary stuff.
I just want to know what JM's index is.
Right now, gosh, it's probably, what's interesting, I'm probably at an 11.5 on the gin. But I would be, this is where being very vulnerable. If I get a couple, cocktails in me, I'm probably about a 5. If I'm right off the tee, I'm more like a 15. So it's that one weird sport where I operate at a much higher level with an adult beverage. I don't understand it.
I love it. Okay, so I'm going to piggyback off of that. So you also work with your wife, and just like us, one of the most popular questions that we get, so first of all, I think a lot of entrepreneurs, their dream is to work with their significant other, probably until they try it. And then they're like, wow.
It doesn't always work out.
And then they ask.
Which is okay too.
Yeah, that's okay too.
Let you know.
But what do you say for people that are navigating that? What are some of the challenges beyond just the personal, now on the business side, that you have faced as a couple? Because in essence, and I understand in any business, we have to have our roles, but in essence, the two of you are partners in running this business together. What challenges have you seen, and how do you overcome those?
So here's the great news. You're going to trust that human being you're going into business with, in my opinion, is the largest thing you need before you ever choose a business partner. So this was an easy choice for me as a business partner. I trust her 1,000%, no questions about it. However, here's the challenge. When work becomes personal becomes work, that's when it doesn't work. So for instance, let's say you shut down the business at, I don't know, just hypothetically speaking, 9 o'clock. We're not going to talk about business anymore at 9 o'clock. That means when you're laying on your head at night, doing a little pillow time and you're talking, it doesn't go to business there, at least for us. Because it used to be where business. It was part of the kids. It was part of the dinner table. It was part of our personal time in the evening. Well, that started to affect all those things negatively. And we weren't bringing our best selves to that conversation. So what we got really good at, again, is boundaries or time management, to say, hey, we are going to sit down at 8 o'clock. Now, we live in the same house. In this pandemic, we're working in the same space. Do we really have to set an appointment? And the answer for us was absolutely yes. So dinner time was not, hey, Tej, my son, how's tennis going? Oh, at least this with work. No, this is time to be with my family. And then if we designate a 7 p.m. meeting for us to sit down, cool. And I know people think that that's like, it's so militant, but honestly, for us, it has been the best solution to make sure that we bring our best selves to the table and we're able to show up in the other areas that we're expected to show up as.
It's not militant, it's same concept, it's boundaries, right? So I mean, if not, then if you don't have these things scheduled and the structure, then everything's left to chance. And so sometimes it might be, maybe you can get out of balance with family time and you're like, oh, I didn't do all the things. And that's going to lead to problems then tomorrow, because someone's going to be saying, hey, did you do the things that you had to do for work? And like, no, I got caught up in whatever it was I was doing. And so I don't see it as militant at all. I see it as boundaries. Tell us about the two books, Champions Daily Playbook and Let's Go Win. What are those books about?
Yeah, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. Let's Go Win is the book. Literally, that's my parents, my grandparents, authors, mentors, all put into one little 169-page read. So if you hopped on a plane in New York and you landed in LA, you would be able to read the book and have takeaways from each chapter. Now, that was, again, originally designed for my two boys. I have two kids, 15 and 12. I just wanted them to know if dad got hit by a bus tomorrow, hey, these are some philosophies that maybe we can follow. Okay. Champions Daily Playbook, quite literally, it's the version of what I work with my clients on every single day. Nice. And so what you asked earlier, the mind, body, and soul is in there, where it's literally, you set your intention for the day. And it's, if you know what it is, if you want to accomplish a goal in 90 days, I don't care if that's starting a business, finding a relationship, losing weight. If you just follow 5 minutes a day for 90 days, you will achieve that goal. And I've done this test so many times. That silly little book will help you achieve your goal. It'll also drive you crazy to a degree, because you're like, dang it, why can't I follow through? But if you're able to set that intention, able to journal a little bit, able to take care of yourself for 90 days, it's really remarkable what you can accomplish.
That's 100% true. That's like Andy Frisella's 75 hard, right? And one of the things I chuckle about is, right, if you miss a day, if you misstep, you have to start over.
Back. Yeah.
And I remember seeing John Ruhlin. So prior to summer camp, John Ruhlin came down with appendicitis. Yeah. It was literally like a few days before, and he called me. He says, no, I'm going to be there. I was like, are you sure you got appendicitis? He's like, no, I'm going to be there. But I remember when he walked up to me, I was like, well, I'm glad that you're here, but I have one piece of bad news, John. And he said, what's that? And I said, you're starting over on 75 hard.
Yeah, he was far through it, right?
He was far through it. So you missed a day. You're in the hospital. Like, you got to start over. At least Champions Playbook's not like that. We can stay on track. One last thing. So like, as people are, imagine if we were just having a conversation, getting together, how do people interface with you? How do you help? What's the medium that you're helping people? I mean, of course, they can go on Amazon, they can get the books, they can read them, they can follow you and connect with you. But like, the real change, I always say the magic is when you work with somebody. So how can people connect with you? How do people work with you? How do you get results in their lives?
Yeah, brother. Thank you. If you go to letsgowin.com, that's the best place to find me, unless we're physically in the same room, obviously. And actually, I write on a blog every single week. And if you wanted to dive in and see what's going on inside this head, which I don't know if you want to or not, but if you want to see parts of it, that's what that blog is all about. And for years, I would have all these ideas, and it was like, but you didn't write it down. So again, if I'm gone tomorrow, and these aren't my lessons, these are lessons that I've learned from other really, really smart people. I just wrote them down finally. And so if you really want to get into that, I suggest that. And there's also a free assessment on there. So I love to connect. I love feedback. If people are like, hey, this guy's full of crap, great, let me know. Hey, you're good, sweet, I like that too. I really do like to hear, because I don't know how I'm showing up, right? Just like looking in the mirror. I think I'm showing up one way, but I don't know until I hear the feedback. So I welcome that. And letsgowin.com, please let me know.
I love it. That was awesome. It's so great talking to you and hearing. I love that a lot of your philosophies align with the same things that we teach. And again, it's interesting, it doesn't matter who you meet on the planet. so many of the struggles are the same. It's just finding the right person to guide you and navigate you through it. And I love that you're doing that with so many individuals. I'm sure it's making a big impact in this world.
My big takeaway today is upgrade. I love that.
I love that.
It's a super awesome concept. And I hope that people can begin to think about that and utilize that concept, right? I mean, because change is hard. Upgrade's always good. You want to upgrade your phone? Of course. Everybody wants to upgrade. Yeah. You want to change? Oh, I don't want to change. I want to upgrade. I love that. And listen, anytime that you want to make that, this is probably about an hour and 45-minute drive across the state of Florida to Naples. We'll go out. I'm not going to play for money if you can play it to a 5 with a couple of drinks.
Or just don't give him any drinks.
No, we'll take someone on. We'll hustle someone out there on the course. We'll do that. That'll be a lot of fun. Anytime you want to come out here, love to have you. We'd love to connect with you further. Thanks so much. Any last thing that you need to share with our viewers, our listeners, any last nuggets of gold that you've got for them?
I just tell people to be yourself. I always say, take off the mask. The masks are for party. It's not for life. Like, be you, because people deserve to see it. Just like you guys are talking. I love watching you all talk just the way you always do. I'm sure it's so genuine and it's so awesome to be around. I know why people want to be around you. I know why I'm going to come play golf with you in Naples.
Oh man, you love that.
Because look at that smile. You guys are magnetic. So be that, you guys. Everyone deserves that. So that would be my last thing. And thank you all. I really appreciate it. It was awesome.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. www.letsgowin.com. It's a great website. It's a beautiful website. Tons of resources there. You can find out about
get into that line,
everything
go into
that you
that blog.
need. Check it out. That's all we have for you this week. We'll be back again next week with the brand new edition of the None of Your Business podcast. Make sure that you like, subscribe, leave a review. Just like JM was saying, look, even if you hate it, right in there, that was the dumbest episode ever. But I'm going to blame JM. It's not our fault. But leave us a review. Let us know. Share with your friends. We'll be back again next week.